the best thing ever.
It's the Todd and Joe morning show. So I apologize for my voice. I got really dehydrated, got nauseous, threw up, and now my throat sounds like I spent all night with Todd.
We sing a lot.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to hold the microphone. Anyways,
that's it. Good day, folks.
Welcome to the Todd and Joe morning show.
What's happening, everybody?
How's it going, Todd?
It's going good. It's Saturday for me. It's my Saturday, so it's a beautiful day out. Probably later on do some lawn work. It would technically
be my
Monday,
Sunday.
Yep, Sunday. Yeah,
because I was off yesterday. So it would be my Sunday. But for all you out there, if you're watching it as the day this came out, it's now Monday. So we're coming to you from the past to talk about the past.
Yes, okay? The past, talking about the past.
So this is kind of like your own personal Back to the Future.
Yes.
Because if you think about it.
I mean, Doc Brown was cool, but Marty was...
Well, think about this, Todd. If Back to the Future was remade today, the 50s would be something we're about to talk about now.
Oh, would it be the
90s?
Oh, my God.
How does that make you feel?
Old.
Because 30 years. Crazy. Because 1985, 1955.
Yep.
The 1994, man. That's wild. And
yeah, that's crazy.
And to keep going with the Back to the Future thing, a big part of that whole movie, the whole franchise, is a little bit of something we like to call tunes.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Huey Lewis, man. No one would have known that fucking song.
Exactly. So
plus,
we're going to talk.
You can't tell me that every time you don't hear that song, that's not the first thing you think of is Marty and his fucking skateboard behind, holding on to that Jeep and shit, like.
Right. Absolutely. And I'm really excited to talk about 90s music with you because just like we kind of talked about last week, we have that like 4 or 5 year age gap. But beginning of the 90s, I was a little kid. And I didn't start hitting adolescence, getting into music until probably like mid 90s. And even then it was like little kid likes changing into everything else. So I'm super excited to hear about your experiences with music. And I actually pulled up whose article, this website Pitchfork. And they have 150 best albums of the 90s. So after we talk about some of our personal favorites, I'm just going to kind of go through and ones that I think that we both might like or one might dislike and talk about them. But since you're the elder statesman here, why don't you hit me with your top 5 of the 90s? No,
oh man,
no particular order. Just the top 5 albums that you think helped make Todd the amazing man he is today.
Well, I believe the first CD I ever bought was Nevermind. Which
Nevermind what? What? You're not going to tell me now?
No, just Nevermind completely. Just don't worry about it. I have an older brother who is, let's see, he's only like 3 years older than me, 4 years.
So he's like 20 years older than me?
Yeah, he's 44, 45.
So he would be 7, 8 years older than me.
Yeah. So that's where I got a lot of my music from.
Gotcha.
When I was younger, the 80s, whatever, obviously there was like the hair metal. I actually, and you know what? I think people fucking goddamn it. If people went back and listened to some of the shit, so like I really enjoyed DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Oh yeah.
But after, so there was like the cheesy albums, you know, with like Parents Don't Understand, Nightmare on My Street, whatever. But there was an album called Code Red that was not like those albums.
Right.
At all. So I was into like, you know, whatever. And then, yeah, like once my brother started getting into stuff. So like, he, you know, I used to steal the CDs all the time, but the first CD I ever bought, yeah, Nirvana's Nevermind. And that album just, I mean, obviously Smells Like Teen Spirit, Come As You Are, you know, Smells Like
The album defined Nirvana as the, like it, they're another one. They're a group that I wish would have been able to had like a long-term like stay. And let's be honest, the Foo Fighters are kind of like the spiritual successors of that. But like you and I have talked about before, like Kurt was a next level kind of guy.
Yeah.
And like just like Bob Marley, just like, you know, Jimi Hendrix, just like Biggie, just like Pac, part of their that helped shoot them the superstardom was their unfortunate demise. And to see what the natural course would have been if they hadn't died, like part of me just wants to peek into that version of the multiverse to see what would we have got. Like,
so
go ahead.
The thought behind a lot of this, because I'll never believe the dude killed himself. There's just way too much evidence against it, but they refuse to reopen it. And it's just like, I just don't believe he did it. Now, you know, I was always one of those kind of like, fucking Courtney Love had part of it. Like, I could never prove that. There's really no evidence of that. I mean, then other than like he helped her write a whole album and she eliminated her competition. But other than that, you know, dude's credit card was used the day he was found dead, which he had died like 3 or 4 days prior to that. Somebody stole his shit, you know, the coroners, there was too much fucking heroin in his body, the shotgun, But a lot of the theory too behind it was that suicide letter was actually a retirement letter to the fans. That wasn't the only thing, if you read that letter, the only thing that genuinely makes it a suicide note is the shit that was written in ink in different handwriting at the end of it, like "I love you, Francis Bean" or whatever the hell it said, something like that. That's kind of what turned it into a suicide note. If you read it without that stuff, it's literally like, I can't do it anymore. The dude had Crohn's disease. That was a huge part of his like life and problems and shit like that. Like, so, it's one of those things where even in like a different whatever, like, would he have just retired, still be alive, but just been like, hey, I'm done doing the music stuff? You know what I mean? Because that's,
or become like a producer, like the dude from Third Eye Blind has, and like so many other like of these guys. Like,
or once in a while, do a show. I mean, look, fucking No Doubt just did Coachella. Real No Doubt, not bullshit No Doubt, like real old school, like ska No Doubt, like before they really blew up. Like, yeah, they probably did Don't Speak and fucking Spiderwebs, but from a lot of the shit I read is they were doing like original No Doubt, which they were a fucking ska band, you know, when they first started out. You know, Sublime with Bradley's son played, you know, they sound fucking amazing. Like, those other two are old as shit. But you know what? Jacob with them sounds really good. But anyway, yeah, so Nirvana, never mind. The second one was, again, from the help of my brother, a couple of them. One day he handed me a cassette when I was fucking 12, 13. Listen to this. What the fuck is it? Listen to it. Well, what is it? It's this band called Rage Against the Machine. Okay, I'll listen to it.
Which album was it?
First. Nothing else was out. This was literally all they had out at this point in time.
See,
like,
Evil Empire was the first one I
I remember when Evil Empire came out because I went and bought it and shit. Like, but yeah, no, this was like I said, man, cassette. Like, listen to this, and fucking Bomb Track was awesome. But being a 12 or 13-year-old and hearing Killing in the Name of, but I learned a lot from them too. Like, I learned a lot about, you know, politics, different things going on. I started researching the Zapatista Indians in Mexico and what the Mexican government was doing to them, because Zach was part Zapatista. And like when one of the trade thing NAFTA went through, Mexico was like, hey, can you send us tanks and guns and stuff to help us fight the drug war? And the US was like, absolutely. So we sent them a bunch of shit, and they fucking used it to attack these fucking Indians and take their fucking land, because that's what never went against the drug war, you know?
Right.
So like I actually learned a lot, you know, from Rage, you know, and just as the time went on, because I would research different things that they would talk about. I'd be like, oh, what's this about? What's that about? Who's this? Who's that? But that album, yeah, like I will love those dudes until the fucking, you know, day I die. That was a band.
Like Zach's voice is so distinct.
Yes.
And it's so it to me, it's like Fred Durst's voice. It's not your typical, oh, that's a good singing voice, that's a good rapping voice, but there's something that sticks out about that voice that makes you go, what's he saying?
Yeah.
Tell me right here. Like,
yeah, no. So that that album, like I said, man, I've never not liked a Rage album. You know, I truly wish they had put out something new when they were doing stuff again, but from the sounds of it, they've disbanded again. So, you know, like I wish they had, like, I really wish they had just fucking sat down and banged out a fucking album, because there's so much that's gone on that they could have put together just one incredible album. But, you know, it didn't happen. It was cool they got to tour. Sucks I didn't get to see it, because it just, I don't know, I'm too old to fucking drive to Buffalo.
Garrett actually.
I think he went to the Buffalo show, Buffalo or Rochester.
Buffalo, I believe.
Yeah. So that was another album that helped mold me. The first punk album I ever listened to, again, thanks to my brother. And you know, I obviously Green Day was on the radio at this point in time with like Basket Case and Longview and shit. And they will forever be to me kind of pop punk. Even like their first two albums, Kerplunk and 1039 Without Slappy Hours. Both those albums were kind of like pop punk to a degree, you know.
I would say they were punk radio more so than later they definitely became punk pop. But
so NoFX, Punk and Drublic was the first punk album I listened to, and I think there probably were a couple of other ones that could have been like, that's a great first punk album to listen to, like Operation Ivy's Energy, or you know, anything early Rancid, which is Operation Ivy basically. But yeah, NoFX, Punk and Drublic, you know, that album definitely was like my first real exposure to like punk rock, which still to this day, you know, I'm sad that I won't, you know, they're doing their last tour and they're done. It's been 40 years and they're not playing anywhere near here, which sucks, because I saw them back on 2000 on a Warped Tour. Right. I got my picture with LFA and shit, got his autograph, and they put on a hell of a show. They kept telling your mama jokes and it was great. But yeah, it was, so that was like my first like punk rock shit, man. Everything else kind of stuck with me after that, because under that is like, Op Ivy, you know, the first fucking 4 Rancid albums, you know, like just, you know, on and on, MXPX, fucking Bad Religion, Minor Threat, like just, so that was what, 3 of them. 4, you mentioned this gentleman and or group a little bit ago, Limp Bizkit, $3 Bill, y'all. My brother came back from a Warped Tour and was like, dude, when Korn was huge. He's like, man, he used to go to the good Warped Tours, the 90s Warped Tours, the fucking like punk ska Warped Tours. And he was like, dude, gotta listen to the fucking album. I'm like, who is it? He's like, this band called Limp Bizkit. He's like, this was their first tour they've ever done. He was like, these guys, you gotta listen to them, man. You love Korn. He's like, you're gonna fucking love these guys. And yeah, I fell in love. Fucking Counterfeit, fucking like Pollution, dude, they're fucking like, even you know that cover of Faith was just a fucking joke. Fred was driving to work one day to drive into the studio and he heard it on the radio. He's like, hey, we should cover that. You know, like
and that turned out to be what propelled them to
that turned out to be the beginning of their end. That was their semi demise.
See, that's where you and I will agree to disagree.
Well, I like Significant Other. So here's the thing with being the whole punk rock thing, and will always kind of be my thing, is once it gets really popular, I kind of fucking step away from it.
Right.
Because that's just, I don't want to say that's the punk rock way, but it was one of those things where it was just like, especially like Limp Bizkit, because it's one of the very few bands that I started listening to before anybody had heard of them, really. So when they get on MTV with Faith, and all of a sudden they are this huge MTV thing. Significant Other, I'll still listen to. It's a damn good album. After that, it started to get a little cookie cutter for me and a little too industrialized, I guess, if you will.
Yes.
More
it's like
of
they try to replicate Significant Other with like Chocolate Starfish is essentially a clone of Significant Other. And then when Results May Vary came out, that's when West had left.
Yep. And he was huge, dude. Like that guy, I mean, if nobody ever paid attention on the song Nookie, he's playing a 4-string fucking guitar. Like that's the thing. And with Korn, no one heard of a 7-string guitar, and they brought that shit along. And that's the same thing for me personally with Korn. The self-titled and Life is Peachy were great, but after that, it started to fucking tank. There was shit that he was starting to try to sound like Limp Bizkit. I'm like, dude, you guys have two distinct, separate, awesome styles of how you sing. You can't do each other. Like you can't.
Well, I'm sure they could if they wanted.
Well, they probably did. How do you think Fred got that fucking record deal?
See, like, and again, for me, it probably was just the age thing, because like that was like Korn, Biscuit, Stained, like Linkin Park, like that was like my junior high school kind of like musical identity mixed with and all the rap and stuff that I did, that I liked. But like with Biscuit, like $3 bill, $3 bill, y'all, will to this day and forever will be my favorite album.
It's a fucking amazing album,
dude.
Truly amazing.
And I love Significant Other, and like is there the album they came out with last year, 2 years ago,
was awesome.
Dude, was amazing. Like it reminded me of Significant Other, but not in the way Chocolate Starfish reminded me of a Significant Other. Chocolate Starfish was like when your friend tries too hard to be like you.
Yeah.
Where I even forget the name of the album.
I can't remember it, but yeah.
I know Dad Vibes is on there, which like was amazing. Like
that Fred leaning into that whole thing for like the shows, like him dressing like it, that fucking, just made me go, you know what? I remember why I like these fucking guys. Like,
actually, they're playing in Bethel in July.
Are they? I'm going down there in August for Fish.
Do you want to go down in July for
it would depend on the day. I can't do it when I work.
Yeah, well, honestly, it would depend on the day for me too, because like my summer's kind of like
I'm getting old, man. Like I'm realizing, like, we're going to see Big Bad Voodoo Daddy in a couple of weeks, and it's like a Wednesday night, and it's down in Homer, which is only like an hour and a half ish. But by the time I get home, they play until like 10. So then, whatever. And like we're on the guest list because we know the bass player. So I don't know if that's
the bass player of Big Bad Voodoo Daddy.
Yeah. So, I can't remember. It was probably like 8 years ago now. We went out to the Art Park by Niagara Falls for $12 lawn seats. We got to see them and Brian Setzer. $12, dude.
That's like 8th grade for me, like all over again. That's when that whole swing like era came back, because I saw him at Woodstock. He was at Woodstock, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw him at Woodstock during the day on Sunday.
And it was more, it wasn't the Stray Cats, but it was that. It wasn't him with like the orchestra, which was kind of funny because you had a swing band, so you'd almost think it would be the Brian Setzer Orchestra as well. But it was like the Stray Cats basically, which was cool with me. I like the rockabilly. I like Setzer like that. I like Stray Cats. I liked him with the orchestra too. So yeah, and I've seen legitimately, I have lost count of how many times I've seen Big Bad Voodoo Day. The first time I saw him was in '98 when they played at Suco, Sunioniana. Got to meet all the fucking band like before and after because they were just kind of cruising around. But this is the '90s, so they were super young. We were out back by the bus, and the lead singer comes out. He walked by us. He's like, "Hey guys," I'm like, "Scotty," and he was like, "Yeah, what's going on?" Like, came back, talked to us, signed autographs, shit. The whole band was riding these scooters around. They got from like there was like a summer thing at MTV, their spring break, I think they got when they played it, So we got to meet them all then, blah blah blah, and but yeah, so we left partway through Setzer's set because they were doing fireworks over the falls because it was close to July 4th. But we went back to the merch table because Big Bad Voodoo Daddy always usually one or two of the guys are out there selling the merch. But it's funny because most people don't recognize it because they're street clothes, not three-piece suits. So we were there, and the baritone saxophone player Andy was there. So we're talking to him, and like the bass player Dirk had just like left, and I said something about whatever, got his autograph. He's like, "Oh yeah, Dirk should be coming back." So we started talking to him when he came back, and we were just bullshitting, and he literally stopped and was like, he's like, "You ever thought about doing voiceover stuff?" And we both just started laughing. Kenny was like, "That's his dream, da da da." And he's like, "Oh yeah, do like a YouTube channel." He's like, "The Todd." I was like, "Mangillo." He's like, "Well, that's a crazy last name." He was like, "What?" He was like, "Whatever channel." And we got talking. I took a picture with him and shit, and then like we found him on Facebook, and it was him. It wasn't somebody that ran it, whatever. So friends on there, and then like a year later or so, or like the next winter, like January, February, we went to the Egg to see them, and we went up to the merch table, and it was this woman. She's like, "Oh, go get the one guy from the band to fix his credit card machine." So like, out walks Dirk, and he's always just a happy dude. He's really like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And he walks out and he's smiling. He sees us, and he's like, "Oh my god!" He was like, "Stay right there. I just got to fix this quick." So instantly knew us, like recognized us from like 8 months prior. Came over, was talking to us and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I found out that the trumpet player, because I was wearing an AC Slater shirt, he was like, he looked at me, because they're all from California. He's like, "I went to school with Zach Morris." I'm like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, dude." He's like, "I went to school with Mark Paul Gosselaar." I'm like, "That's so fucking cool, dude." Like,
that's awesome.
And then after that, we just whatever. So like we saw him at Turning Stone in 2019 before all hell broke loose. And they were doing meet and greet. We came around. We were the first in lines, and Dirk looked up. He was like, "Oh my god, it's Todd and Kenny! I didn't know you were coming." Da, da, da. So, yeah, like I text him very, very like randomly and not seldom because I know he's also a human with fucking kids and shit like that. So, yeah, I text him when we found out tickets were on sale for that. I was like, "Hey, we're gonna be down there," and da 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 da. And he was like, texted me back. He's like, "Oh, he's like, you guys want to be on the guest list?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, dude, like if you're offering," I don't know what that entails exactly. I got to text him and find out like, what does this, what does it mean? Like,
hey, when you text him to find out, you should have him like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah. Oh, he would. Yeah. I'll let him know because he's fucking, he's awesome, man. So
when's this show? Give him a free advertisement right now.
May 15th down at the Homer. I can't remember the name of the fucking place. It's in Homer, New York.
Nuclear plant.
But yeah, if you've never seen them, man, they're a fun band. If you drop them back in like the 30s, no one would even have any idea that they came from the future. Like they dress the part, they sound the part, like they are, and that is, probably another one of my albums, is their first album they did with like You and Me and the Bottle Makes Three Tonight, and fucking they did oh Christ almighty. No, I can't think of the fucking one song on there that's like everybody knows. But that's another one that really kind of like shaped me in a way, was just a different type of music from like, it was kind of like ska, but it was a form of something from 60 years ago when they came out originally.
And like, think about how cool that is like one of the albums that helped shape you now have a personal relationship with somebody who helped create that.
Dude, I found the flyer, the poster from the first show I went to at my parents' house. So I brought it with me to a show the fuck is it? It's kind of covered by my TV. So I brought it with me to a show at Turning Stone they were playing at. And when they did the meet and greet afterwards, because they used to, until COVID, they literally did a meet and greet after every single show for free. They never charged anybody. You know, I mean, you bought something to get them signed, but that was it, man. You could take pictures with them. Like, so we get in line, me and my buddy, whatever. And I think Dirk, this is before I knew him, was like the first one. I fucking put it on the table. He just looked at me. He's like, where'd you get this? I was like, that was the first show I ever like saw you guys at. And he's like, holy shit. I'm like, I feel like it's time for it to be signed. And he was like, well, where do you want to sign? He's like, on the back. I'm like, no, dude, like there's each one of you, like it's all of you standing, you know, like in a line. And I was like, you know, sign. He's like, so literally just he's passing on the table and every one of them was like, holy shit, look at that. Da, da, da. And like, I got to the end where the lead singer was, and he was talking to somebody. And he looked at me, he's like, hey man, you know, they always thank you for coming to the show, which I thought was really cool. He's like, hey, you know, he's like, thanks for coming to the show. And he looked down, he looked at me, he's like, where the fuck did you get this? And I was like, I just laughed. I'm like, it was the first show I ever saw you guys. Like, college in my hometown. He's like, that's awesome, man. He's like, thank you so much. Like I said, that was fucking 98. You know, it's 2024, and I'm still going to see. And they have an all original lineup. Nobody's fucking left. It's all original fucking band.
And think about that. Like, that was almost 30 years ago.
Yeah. They've been around for like 32 years or together for like 32 years now or something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, no, they were, you know, tops of my list. And then I don't know. I have to say, as cheesy as it is, like my fifth one, because there's a lot of stuff which led me to listen to other albums of his, was like Bob Marley's Greatest Hits. But it made it so I went back and listened to
everything else.
Yeah, to all the other albums. I mean, there's a lot of bands like that. Green Day was the same thing, you know, like I listened to Dookie and then went back to Kerplunk in 1039.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, there were a few bands, you know, Rancid. Well, yeah, I mean, Rancid actually, like, I remember when Out Came the Wolves came out, and I think when Let's Go, but like the first self-titled, I, you know, went back and listened to. No Effects. There was a bunch before Punk and Drublic. You know, I mean, there are a lot more albums, you know, because of just whatever that are like my rank up there. A lot of ska albums, like that's people. I don't want to say talk shit. A lot of people are like, dude, fucking ska. And I'm like, man, it's some of the happiest music out there. If everybody listened to fucking ska, the world would be a great place.
The thing is like, who cares what you listen to? Yeah. Like who cares what you're into? And like, that's kind of like the purpose of this YouTube channel is you literally can be a nerd about anything.
Yeah.
If Todd wants to be a nerd about ska, because like with me, there are some ska bands I like. There are some ska bands that are songs that I dig, but you're not going to find me like, unless it's like a show with a big lineup, you're probably not going to find me at a ska show. You know? Or same with like punk, like there's some like No Effects songs, you know, MXPX, like stuff like that I dig, but that wasn't my thing. Like with me, like especially as like an adolescent and teenager, like it was the new metal, it was the, you know, hardcore rap, and then like that. I always loved like Foo Fighters. I always loved like those kind of bands. Always stuck with me. You have what? One more album left to. Or was that 5?
I think that was 5. And that was the other thing, quick, because you said about rap, is you know, when I was like punk ska and like swing thing, like I was very like stupidly, don't get me wrong, I'll admit this because I was a kid. I was stupidly closed-minded to a lot of shit.
Absolutely.
Until the very, very late 90s is when 2 of my close friends that I hung out with fucking daily started like playing and getting more into like hip hop, not rap per se. Like actual, like, you know, Jurassic 5, Tribe Called Quest, The Far Side, fucking
De La Soul,
New School, De La Soul, Diggable Planets, you know. So like J5 was probably one that like really got me kind of more interested into hip hop, because it was different than a lot of other groups. Now you had the groups that had multiple people, like Tribe had, you know, 3 people, but Jurassic had the four MCs that could harmonize, which was rare.
Right.
And then 2 DJs, which Newmark and Cut Chemist, to me, are probably 2 of the top DJs in the world and will forever be. Those guys are brilliant when it comes to that shit. And a lot of DJs don't fucking scratch anymore. There's not a lot of that. And those guys,
it's not
the
dude
dude the dude we saw that opened for Cypress, that is their DJ now, which I don't know what happened to Muggs, but it's DJ Lord. His opening, he did like an opening thing set for like 20 minutes, and he was mixing fucking like classic rock. Dude, it was insane. Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, like, I mean, just fucking nuts. But yeah, so J5, and then I went back and started listening to like Tribe and Far Side and fucking, yeah, all that shit. And I'm like, damn, this shit, I wish I had been more open-minded years prior to that, so I could have kind of rode that too, you know.
Like, I'm super surprised that Cypress Hill wasn't on your top 5.
Cypress was for sure, but I think it was a little bit later that I really got more into them.
They talk about distinct voices, like,
yeah, oh, be real, that nasal, you know, that nasally voice is insane, but their rap, you know, like, so like, again, like, obviously we listened to the I Want to Get High hits from the Bong, you know, shit like that, but I didn't really like, it had to have been like, yeah, it had to have been like 11th, 12th grade that I really started digging back into Cypress Hill, like the first self-titled, Black Sunday, fucking Temples of Boom, because it was, you know, and I hate to be like that, whatever, but, you know, there is a distinct difference between rap and hip-hop. There is, period.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You know? It's the same difference between punk and pop punk. Like,
yes. Not that one is better than the other. I just got more into the hip hop and the storytelling and the fucking beats and shit like that. And yeah, you know what? There are, you know, am I a fan of like Tupac and Biggie? Not especially. Do I give them the credit that they deserve? Fuck yeah. It's like Bob Dylan. I can't stand Bob Dylan's voice, but I give him the credit as a musician. I can't listen to him, but I'll give him credit. You know, Eminem, not a huge fan, but his first album was fucking amazing. You know, like, I will always give credit where credit's due, even if I'm not a big fan of who they are or, you know, them. But like I said, Tupac and Biggie, man, like, not really, but what they did and what they accomplished and what the standards they set in that genre were fucking amazing. Like, it's hard to find somebody that you could be like, yeah, they're better than Tupac or Biggie. You know?
And that's the thing with Biggie and Tupac. And like, I hate when people compare them, because Tupac was essentially a political rapper. He was a political activist who rapped. And Biggie was more of the club rapper.
Yes.
And I get it. People say, oh, greatest of all time. Like, there's a debate between 2 of them. I personally don't feel either one of them had a big enough body of work to cement them as the GOAT. You know what I mean? Like,
but was that because they didn't have that opportunity because their life got cut short? You know, like, again, multiverse, you know, what if Biggie and Tupac were around? How much more would they have done? You know, what would they have gotten to in life that we didn't get to hear? What else was left in them? I mean,
think about it. If Biggie never died, P. Diddler would probably still be Puffy. But like, going off of what you just said, I'll start off my top 5 most influential albums from the 90s with Slim Shady LP. Like, I'll never forget where I was, what I was doing when I first heard My Name Is. And it's like very, we were talking about one of those moments I had earlier with one of my songs, but like, there's a handful of songs that I remember where I was when I was first introduced to it. And we had just moved from Japan to Rome. My parents were looking for a house, so we were put up in the Beaches Lodge in Rome. And every day after school, you know, we'd come home or come to the place, and my dad was at work still. My mom had picked us up, brought us there, and me and my sisters would watch TRL.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget Carson Daly standing there. And we have a debut video today from this new rapper produced by Dr. Dre named Eminem. And I'm like, huh. And look, like you were talking about, The Chronic made me go back and like listen to NWA. You know what I mean? And like The Chronic would not like honestly be an honorable mention in all this because it was something I came to a few years after it come out.
Yeah, The Chronic was the shit.
And part of the reason I had gotten into The Chronic was because of Eminem, because that put Dr. Dre in my world, you know. And I'll never forget that. My name is. My name is. And I'm like, huh? And I'm listening to this. And at this point, all the rap I had known were like Kid and Play and Fresh Prince, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and then Tupac, like, and Biggie, like those like rap.
Yeah.
Like when I had lived in Turkey, like that 6th grade year was when I had first started getting into music. And over there, everybody just listened to like gangster rap. So it was like Doggy Style. Like it was a lot of it was like that West Coast hardcore gangster rap. So I knew Dre. I liked Dre. You know what I mean? And then and he was funny. He was, and I'm like, wow, like this is awesome. So the day that album came up, I remember cold as shit. We had just moved into our house and I walk in probably about 3 miles up to Listen Up that was up in Rome and going in there and hoping that they wouldn't like give me shit for being underage buying a CD, and they didn't, and going home. And then actually one of my buddies, Adam, who I'll be hopefully interviewing later this summer for one of the shows that I hope to launch on the channel, listening to it in his room and like making sure his parents weren't like going to come upstairs so they didn't hear it. And like, dude, you had like, my name is Guilty Conscience. Like, I remember like listening to Guilty Conscience and be like, that was so fucked up. But like, it told like such a story. And then like the music video came out. And then like you had the radio edit versions compared, which to me was like,
so I was going to say the fucking video version compared like, so like that. I don't know what went through with that fucking playlist I sent, but on my end, like Guilty Conscience is on there. My name is. And yeah, listen to Guilty Conscience, like that back and forth between Eminem and Dre, the fucking like, something about, oh, he slapped D Barnes and he was like, what'd you say? He was like, whoa, Mr. Ed to Mr. NWA, and it's just like, it makes you chuckle because it's like that back and forth, which was creative, but funny at the same time. But listening to My Name Is, and remembering the video, like, damn, they had to edit so much shit out of that video. Like, and just change it and whatever. Also,
like the Pam Anderson, Tommy Lee shit. Like,
here's
like all the, and that's the thing, like with Eminem too. Like, you and I were talking about it how before we went on recording that like there are some artists and entertainers who people are like, oh, well, how come he gets away with doing that? That's who he's been from the jump. It's not like, I'm Mr. Rogers, and then like off camera, I'm smoking blunts, slapping bitches, and like cheating on my wife. You know what I mean? Like they've always been who they are, very unapologetically, and that's something like how Marshall has been. And I almost feel like I grew up with him because even though he's, I don't know, like 10, 15 years older than me, he was growing as I was growing, as his albums went, like, because like 8th grade, Slim Shady LP came out. 9th grade, Marshall Mathers LP came out. 11th grade, Eminem Show came out. The year after I graduated, like Curtain Call came out. Like I can document my adolescence through adulthood, and I can tell you where I was in my life every time an Eminem album dropped. And and it has nothing to do with the race the guy is. In my mind, he is the greatest MC to grace the mic thus far. There are people that are up there pretty damn close, but at the end of the day, his mind works in a way that people can't replicate. The punchlines, the wordplay, even the slight way he changes the pronunciation of words to make them rhyme. It's brilliant. And Like you
Plus, he
listen
was
to
also
songs
one
like
that fucking like changed his voice too.
right,
You know,
and
you listen to
so he
like
just
Slim Shady and
announced
B.
he opened up the NFL draft last
Mhm.
week. He was the one because in Detroit, and he opened it up and he announced he was coming out with another album later this year, and it's called The Death of Slim Shady. And from what I've read on it, it's not him retiring from rapping. It's, dude, I'm in my 50s now. It's time to retire that Slim Shady persona, that character. And essentially this album is going to be a love letter to Slim
Yeah.
Shady, and you're going to see a more consciously aware rapper, more laid back rapper, and everything else. And I like how he's reinvented himself. Like the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, he owns the world record for like fastest rapping in Godzilla. Like, and if you look at the lyrics, it's not like him. It's not that he's just like saying words. Like those are rap lines. Those are punch lines.
Oh yeah.
Like that's like four
Yeah, he's not like
songs.
the mumble rapper shit. Like
Right.
he's actually rapping, and he's Busta rapping. Like which
Busta, Twista.
it's
Yeah.
still rapping, it's still words, this mumble rap shit. And that's where like I just start when people are like, oh, there's this rap and that rap and this rap. It's like, dude, stop. Like just fucking stop. First of all, like if you have to almost create a new category of rap, you're probably not a real rapper. Hate to tell you, because it feels like you're just doing it so you can be like, ooh, look at these mumble
Look
rappers.
what I did.
No, dude, just fucking one thing, man. If you can rap, you can rap. If not, no one's gonna fucking think differently of you. I can't rap.
Right.
People don't hate me. They're not gonna be like, yo, fuck that motherfucker. He can't fucking eat shit.
I feel the same way about you. I wish we could go back in a freestyle, Todd, sometimes instead of just talking, but whatever.
Yeah. If I had a creative mind and didn't name half my animals just the animal that they were, then it might be something we could do. But it doesn't work that way. My mind doesn't. I'm not. It sounds stupid. I'm just not a creative person.
No, it doesn't, because like it's always been something that's come very easy to me.
Yeah.
Like me and my buddy Steve that had passed away. Like that's one of the first things me and him really connected and bonded on. And like for like our whole lives, like we might not have seen each other for like a month, but like at least once a week or so, I would get 16 bars texted to me. And if I had time then or the next day or whatever, I'd hit him back with 16 bars. And like that's something that we've always done,
Yeah.
and I've always enjoyed. And like it's like with drawing. Like I'm halfway decent at drawing. I'm with the art stuff, but dude, you put numbers in front of me, and I feel like I'm looking at hieroglyphics. I can't do that. Everybody's mind works differently. So this. We already talked about $3 bill, y'all, a little bit, but
Well,
I'll talk
real
about
quick,
it.
I want to mention this because it is funny. If you want to hear a funny song,
Okay.
because it was back when the feud was going on, which they did squish, whatever. It's called Slim Anus, and it's Twisted and ICP.
Trust me,
fucking hilarious.
Oh, I know all that. I remember downloading Slim Anus off of Napster.
And it was just a funny fucking. They did it very tactfully. Like it wasn't just like, hey, let's completely like let us do Slim Shady, Slim Anus. It was, hey, let's actually take his song and cut pieces out and replace it with Jamie Madrox being fucking Eminem. Like, and I know they finally squashed that shit. Good for them, because it's far and few you see a lot of that shit actually happen. And they squashed it in like a drunk bowling tournament, which makes it even fucking better. It wasn't like, all right, whoever sells the most album, it was, hey, you know what? Let's get together. Let's get fucking wasted and bowling and just put this behind us. Like, that's awesome to me. That is truly fucking like being a men, adults about shit. But the songs that went on, but yeah, Slim Anus, if other people have never heard that song, ICP, they had a beef with Eminem, blah, blah, blah. So that one of their diss tracks before diss tracks became like a thing.
Like it cracked me up because like, if you think about it, ICP are the ones who essentially started off, and it helped Eminem amazingly. People trying to come at to this day, you still have people trying to, like MGK tried doing that shit with Eminem.
But Eminem started that shit. That was the problem because he was
Right.
advertising one of his shows that, like, literally with
Well,
flyers that
that's
said,
what
like, ICP might show up.
right. And
So
but the thing that was funny to me about all that had happened like years prior,
Mhm.
and
Oh
then
yeah,
they waited till like he blew up to do that. And like
yeah,
honestly, like it's a smart move. Like the guy I used to not like is now famous.
yeah.
Let's get some scratch to go our way. And then like Eminem absolutely destroys ICP because like as fun as ICP is to listen to, like they're like another one. It's I've never been a juggalo, not my thing. There's actually quite a few ICP songs I enjoy, but like I'm like it was never like
Yeah.
fully like my thing, you know. But so the next album, which kind of goes into the Eminem beef thing, is the $3 bill, y'all, because Eminem had his very, very famous beef with Everlast, which, so according to lore, Eminem asked Limp Bizkit to get on a diss track with him to diss Everlast. And people who don't know, the reason that's meaningful because Eminem or Limp Bizkit's DJ Lethal, is the former House of Pain DJ, which Everlast, before he became Whitey Ford, was
And then
lead
went to
singer of
like Coca
House of Pain.
Nostra.
Everlast is the man that told you to jump around.
Yep.
Okay, guys? If people don't know that, you know it now. That was Everlast. And if you don't know who Everlast is, I'm not surprised. Like, it's been a while.
I saw them House of Pain. It was actually Everlast and Danny Boy. It wasn't Lethal, but Everlast is in the Coca Nostra as
Yeah.
well. So it was like the Coca Nostra, House of Pain at the same time.
So for those of you who don't know, please explain to everybody who La Coca Nostra is.
Holy shit! I'm trying to remember now. I think it is Everlast, Ill
Cypress Hill.
Bill.
Cypress Hill too, right?
No, Be Real.
I
No,
thought Be
it's
Real was part of it too.
no, it's Everlast, Ill Bill, and somebody else is La Coca Nostra. They're different. Some of the stuff I was like cool, and other stuff was like meh. I mean, Be Real or Cypress may have done a song with them, but I'm pretty sure it's just like I think it's Everlast, Ill Bill, and
No,
like one
you're
other
right.
person.
DJ Lethal, Danny Boy, Ill Bill, and Slain.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't Lethal that was there that night. Like I know that for a fact, it like wasn't. But I think it was when he was with Limp Bizkit, so
Right.
he might have just not been.
Cast members, Everlast, and Big Left. So Everlast and whoever Big Left is, I don't even know who Big Left is. Big Left was in from 2006 to 2008. Everlast left in 2012.
Yeah, so I must have saw him in like 20.
But back to the story. So they had asked, Eminem had asked Limp Bizkit to be on this track. They're all about it. And then I believe it was the Hit 'Em Up diss track that Eminem did. Have you heard that one?
Yeah, I think so.
So it starts off with Hit 'Em Up, and then it goes into another one. But that was the song they were supposed to be on, and at last second they kind of backed out. And Eminem was like, "All right, whatever. I respect that. That was your boy. You don't want to, whatever. That's fine." So then, like a couple weeks later, they're on TRL, and DJ, I think Carson Daly asked about, "Oh, how do you guys, how do you feel about the beef between Eminem and Everlast?" And DJ Lethal made some remark about, "Oh yeah, Everlast will whoop his ass." And so on the D12 album that came out in, I want to say 2001, their first one, there's a bonus track at the end called Girls. And it's Eminem's diss track to Limp Bizkit. Mostly at Fred, but it's mostly at Fred and Lethal, actually. But it's shot at Limp Bizkit. But like with $3 bill, y'all, it's kind of funny how I came in contact with him. So I just moved here in 8th grade. My buddy JJ, who somebody else I'm going to be doing content with on the channel in the near future. He's starting to dip his toe in the local stand-up comedy scene.
Nice.
And, you know, somebody I'm going to have on, I'm going to let him produce some content, throw it on the channel. But I had bought Beastie Boys Intergalactic album.
Oh, Hello Nasty. Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah, okay. So I had that. He had $3 Bill Y'all. He wanted to borrow my album, so we swapped. He lost my Beastie Boys CD. So I just kept $3 Bill Y'all. In retrospect, I probably would have kept $3 Bill Y'all anyways. And that CD from 8th and 9th grade, like, was pretty much one of the only things I listened to. So much, I remember in 9th grade, I had to re-buy the CD because I had listened to it so much that it was like just starting to skip between being scratched and played all the time. And I had the poster of the image that was on the CD of the cartoon clown on the like torture wheel. I had that poster on my wall. Probably about 10, 12 years ago, I rebought that poster, and at my old house, I had it down in my man cave, and I actually still have that copy of the poster wrapped up in my basement to go on the wall somewhere in the future. But like we kind of touched on earlier, that CD, dude, like to this day, black t-shirts, camo shorts, low-cut sneakers, is backwards hat is what I still wear. Like Fred Durst completely defined my style and kind of still does to this day. Like to the point I wasn't even a Yankees fan and I wore red Yankee hats for a very, very long time.
So you got to dress like he does like recently on the tours and shit, like an old man.
Be a little hard to pull.
Just get a wig, man.
Yeah, I could. But so, you know, Slim Shady LP, $3 Bill Y'all. And then you're going to crack up at this, but if you think about it, it goes back to I was pretty young in a lot of the 90s. Toby Keith's self-titled album, his debut album, when my dad and mom were really, really big in the country in the early part of the 90s. And I remember when we moved from New York to Turkey, like my dad had this little fucking box he kept in our minivan that had all these different cassettes in. And one of the cassettes he had there was that Toby Keith album. And he played it awful lot. Like that song Should Have Been a Cowboy, first song off his first album, is my favorite Toby Keith song. And it's funny, like, as a super young child, I was super into like that country stuff because that's what my parents listened to. You listen to what your parents listen to. And then for the time I had adolescence to like halfway through my 20s, like I was not a country person at all. Like if you asked me what genre of music I liked the least, and I would have been like, dude, I can't stand country. But something happened, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's the nostalgia, whatever. But from like probably about the last 15 years or so, I have gotten way back into country. Like I love country. I love all music, like, but like, you know, I've found a love for country again, and I think a part of it is, you know, me getting older, me wanting something like on in the background or whatever that's not going to emotionally affect me, like, because if I know if I'm driving to work, you know, and I'm bumping Limp Bizkit or Korn, I might not make the smartest decisions when I walk into work. If I'm going into, and this will lead into my next album. If I'm bumping Wu-Tang and I'm going into work, like somebody better protect their neck. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then we'll go into this. All right. 36 Chambers is by far my favorite Wu-Tang as a collective CD. But, and again, you can thank JJ whenever he starts doing stuff. Wu-Tang Forever was my first exposure to Wu-Tang. So when I first moved back to New York, so at this point I've lived in Turkey, lived in Japan, Wu-Tang Forever came out. People forget that unless you were in like New York City, LA, 36 Chambers was not an MTV thing. So like the real hip hop heads knew Wu-Tang. They had a quite a big buzz. But it wasn't until Wu-Tang Forever where they broke the ceiling and went to that next level of stardom. So I moved back to Central New York, and first day of school, I got long hair, skater t-shirt, my World Industry, Devilman shit, big Jinko jeans, my DC shoes, and there's a bunch of kids who have these chains with this symbol that kind of looks like this on it. And I'm like, so one of the kids, I'm like, what does that mean? And the kid's like, oh, Wu-Tang Clan. You never heard of them? I'm like, nah, I just moved here. He's like, oh, yeah, that's Wu-Tang Clan. But that was all the explanation I was given. So in my 13-year-old mind, I'm like, they got a fucking gang in this school. They have a gang called Wu-Tang Clan. And again, in my young kid's mind, all these kids were white that had the big chains on. So you hear a group of white guys together with the word clan in it, you start thinking something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck? So I had Spanish class with JJ, and actually shout out to Miss Kateri, who she was our eighth and ninth grade Spanish teacher. Unfortunately, she just passed away this past week from the most horrible thing called fucking cancer.
I hate cancer. So
I'm going to say it, and I will say it till the day I die. Fuck cancer. So we're in Miss G's classroom, and JJ's at his desk, and he's drawing the stupid little stick figure thing, and it's got a couple buildings, and then it looks like he's going to do like the bat symbol up on thing, but instead he draws the Wu-Tang symbol. And then he draws and writes the name of each member underneath. And I'm like, dude, you're part of Wu-Tang? And he goes, what? I go, you're part of the Wu-Tang Clan? He goes, no, it's a rap group. And I'm like, oh, and then it clicked. And he's like, no, man. And I'm pretty sure he let me borrow either disc 1 or disc 2 of Wu-Tang Forever. He's like, no, listen to it or whatever. And that later on made me go listen to 36 Chambers. So I'm going to give Wu-Tang Forever its flowers, but 36 Chambers to me, to this day, I listen to it in the truck. I love Wu-Tang. I love Meth, ODB. RZA's production has evolved so much and has become so cinematic, and it's been so cool to watch where he's come. And if anybody hasn't watched the 3 seasons of the Wu-Tang show on Hulu, you are absolutely missing out. So what is that? 4 albums for me so far. Toby Keith, 36 Chambers, $3 Bill, Slim Shady LP, and I will probably top it off with, it's not going to be a group. It's not going to be an artist. It's going to be the first CD that I ever owned. It wasn't the first CD I bought, but it was the first CD I ever owned. And to this day, I will say this is probably either tied or the second best movie soundtrack that I've ever come across. And it is the Space Jam soundtrack.
I thought you were going to say Titanic.
Have you ever listened to the Space Jam soundtrack?
I don't think I have, no.
Okay, I'm going to give you the track listing for it because it was something that was ahead of its time. And it was obviously very hip-hop influenced, but it was still aimed at kids. And it, was that, ooh, I like it. You know what I mean? Where is it? Space Jam, here we go. So, track listing. So it starts off with Steele's version of Fly Like an Eagle.
Seal.
All right. And then it's got a song by Coolio called The Winner.
Mm-hmm. R.I.P. Coolio.
Then one of the best pump-up anthems ever called Space Jam by the Quad City DJs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had King Pisser himself, I Believe I Can Fly. Yep. And then what? So this is something that the song, I love this song. Most of the time when I bring it up to people, they don't remember it. And it's called Hit 'em High, the Monstars anthem. Okay.
If I heard it, like,
Well,
I don't.
After we get off mic, because due to copyright issues, I obviously can't play it. But it's a rap song, and they're supposed to emulate the 5 bad guys in the movie. But it features Be Real, Busta Rhymes, Coolio, LL Cool J, and Method Man.
What?
It is fucking fire. That shit slaps like no other. Like, it makes me want to go outside, start doing squats so I can go jam on a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, it amps you up. And then nice little R&B song called I Found My Smile by Day-Glo. And then the first song I ever heard from Monica, if anybody remembers Monica from back in the day, it's called For You I Will. And then a little song by Salt and Peppa called Upside Down, Round and Round. From Robin S., Giving You All I Got. And then this is one of my favorite, like, funny-ass songs. This was, like, I guess my first, like, introduction into, like, little, like, comedy song kind of things on things. It's called Basketball Jones. And it's Barry White and Chris Rock. It's produced by like Cheech and a couple. And,
because Basketball Jones, I believe, was originally like a Cheech and Chong thing.
Sketch. It's produced by Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
And then another song, I Turn to You, another classic R&B song, but it has by All for One. And then the first, I believe this was the first collaboration between the two. They went on to have an album, and then one of them married Beyonce, and the other one started peeing on people. It's called All My Days, R. Kelly featuring Changing Faces and Jay-Z. Then we had a little song from the Spin Doctors featuring Biz Markie, That's the Way, I Like It. And then, and this is a funny thing, this song is actually written by Jay-Z. It's called Buggin', sung by Bugs Bunny. I'll play that one for you after too. It is awesome. Like, that album, 6th grade, I remember on the bus, I had my little Discman, I had my head, me and my buddy. One of the kids comes on with something I didn't even know existed. Speakers. Plug it into my Discman, and we're sitting in the back of the bus, and we're like, everybody get up, time to jam now. Get the hook going down to the Space Jam. Here's your chance to dance to the Space Jam. All right. It was awesome. And to this day, I still enjoy the song, as you can tell. So that, I would say those 5 albums, there's about 1 million honorable mentions. Like, the first album I know I bought, LL Cool J's Mr. Smith.
Great album.
Oh my God. Like, it's my favorite LL album. Like, and the weird part about it is that came out during like the whole Tupac Biggie beef kind of thing. And there's a song on there called Who Shot Ya? And it's essentially a diss towards Tupac. Because at the time, Pac was going against all the East Coast guys. And then there's a remix to it. And the remix, like, I'll read you the cast of characters on the remix. And it's like, holy shit. Like, the who's, it's kind of like that. It's like the who's who or who's going to be who of rappers. Because, like, I'll read you who's on this. And you're going to be like, holy shit. But the thing was, at the time, LL was that big guy. Because LL was one of those guys from the 80s, like Dre and Ice Cube, that translated over to the 90s. You still had probably about, I don't know, 5-6 years till like 99, 2000 when Will Smith came out with Getting Jiggy with It till he became relevant as a rapper again, if you want to call it that. But so I Shot You. The original one is just LL Cool J and Keith Murray. Yeah, Shot You remix. Keith Murray, Prodigy, Fat Joe, and Foxy Brown.
No shit.
Like, so this is what sixth grade me is listening to, right? So I remember, so we didn't live on base. We lived probably about half hour, 45 minutes from the base because in Turkey, the base, very, very small base. They didn't even have enough accommodations to house all their military families. People like had to live off base. So a lot of the military families lived right outside the gate in the village that was there. My parents opted to live in the city in a very, very nice apartment complex or whatever. One of my friends, he lived up the road. He was actually half Turkish, half American. There was a thing called a shopette. It was like almost like a gas station store kind of thing. But it also had like CDs, some small clothes and whatever. But it was a military like satellite store in the city. So you needed like your military ID or whatever to get into. This was directly across the street from his apartment. So I was staying the night at his house. We went over there. And it was a Turkish girl that actually was working. And she always let Adam buy parental advisory CDs. And what she would do is she would peel the sticker off, take a little bit of rubbing alcohol, rub off the residue so it didn't look like there was any parental advisory, because back then they didn't print it on the cover.
No, it was the sticker on the fucking cellophane.
So I had bought that. The second CD I ever bought, I was actually with Drew. We were in the BX in Japan, and Foo Fighters' Color and Shape and Everclear's Afterglow CDs had both come out around the same time. And we're both there, and we're like, he's like, what CD are you going to buy? I was like, I don't know. Which one are you going to buy? He's like, I don't know. I don't want to buy the same one as you. And I was like, all right, I'm going to buy this one. And he's like, all right, I'll buy this one. I feel I picked the better album. Which one's the better album?
What were the albums again? Everclear and what?
Everclear, Afterglow, Foo Fighters, Color and Shape.
I was more of a Foo Fighters fan than that.
And so was I. And that, again, that album too, like, that has so many classic Foo Fighters songs on it. Like, to this day, the breakdown part of Monkey Wrench, I can recite and sing the whole entire thing because I remember sitting in my bedroom in Japan, writing it down so I could remember it, and then cutting it out and putting it back on my school agenda. So I was a cool kid with the lyrics in it, and like that album helped shape me too. Like it,
I have to say, Big Me was probably one of the best music videos ever done.
Oh yeah, dude! Like
next to Green Day's Walking Contradiction, because that fucking video is just fantastic too. Even though that was a little bit later, I enjoyed the Insomniac CD, but man, that video was just fucking fantastic because it was just hilarious. Like it was just funny as shit to watch. But yeah, Big Me, the Futos, because Mentos was huge, and that was that was just. They fucking, coming out of the gate, because I think that was their first like single music video and shit, whatever. Like,
yeah, it was.
Coming out of the gate with that was fucking intelligent. Like,
and like people forget that like David Grohl wasn't David Grohl. David Grohl was known as the drummer from Nirvana. And even when he came with the Foo Fighters a couple years later, his hair was shorter. He had facial hair now. He didn't even look like the drummer from Nirvana anymore. And part of me feels like that was a deliberate move by him to kind of space himself away. Because as much as you could hear Nirvana in Foo Fighters music, like the influence of it, it is 100% completely David,
So it's funny because the first Foo Fighters album, which I thought this was it, and kind of made me go, came out in fucking 95. Yeah. Kurt died in 94. It was like, damn, were you like, was this something you were already thinking about doing?
They were in a hiatus when he died, weren't they?
It may have been. I think they were in rehab, or he was in rehab. Well, he left
Yeah, I
rehab
think there was.
and then was found dead.
But honestly, that kind of contributes to your theory. If the other guys already knew that the band was pretty much done, why wouldn't they have already started pursuing their own endeavors? Like, I'm sure, like, regardless of what truly happened, I'm sure there were talks about, like, hey, man, I'm gonna go try my own side project, kind of thing. Like, I'm honestly, David might have been already recording before Kurt even passed away.
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's like to write a whole and fucking record an album in like a year, like it's possible. Like punk bands were doing it. Fucking first 3 Rancid album came out like fucking 96, 97, 98, or like fucking like boom, boom, boom. I feel the Foo Fighters were a little more not as fast as like a punk band, which isn't a bad thing.
No.
That's the joke about being a punk band is all you gotta know is 3 fucking chords and you can play punk music. Like,
right.
Foo Fighters is a little more intricate than
absolutely.
NoFX, Rancid. I mean, they are, the other thing that made me fucking super old was AEW, one of the AEW shows. Wrestling, for you folks that don't know what AEW is.
Tuesdays on this channel, Wrestle Fandom Radio, starring me, Todd, Drew, and some kid named Garrett.
Yeah, this guy we picked up on the street.
Homeless guy. Yikes.
But yeah, so they, Ruby Soho. So when she came out at one of the pay-per-views, like Rancid played, and it literally was like Rancid, punk rock legends, and I'm like, oh, that makes me feel old. See, I mean, they are. Like, they are punk rock legends, but man, like, seeing
it's like you say Ramones, punk rock legends. Okay, I get that. That makes sense to me because even when I was a kid, the Ramones were punk rock legends. But like, and like even like with some of these people, they're into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like, I'm like, wait, what? And then I'm like, oh shit! Like, dude, even like. And I know this is a very controversial topic or whatever, but I am a fan. Taylor Swift's been around for 20 years.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
Right?
Like, I don't think she wasn't as in the spotlight as she has been over the past year, and that's the fucked up part of a lot of shit is people lost their mind when that whole Ticketmaster thing happened. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know this, and I'm not saying you don't because I know you know this, but for other people out there who don't know this, people like me who enjoy the band Fish, people that are called, deadheads that have been listening to Grateful Dead for years, how fucking long we've experienced that same shit.
Yep.
And no one has given a fuck. But it happens to Taylor Swift, and the whole world fucking's like, let's kill Ticketmaster. And it's like, dude, we've been fucking, when I tried to get my parents for me because I was working, tried to get tickets for Fish at the fucking Odd. They broke Ticketmaster. Tickets sold out for the Odd in 20 minutes, and so many people went on, it broke the website. And by the time, like, my mom got on, she's like, tickets were fucking gone. 20 fucking minutes. But no one gave a shit then, you know what I mean? But, like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I was pissed about that. I was like, literally, like, first of all, if you didn't know Ticketmaster is a scam for the past 30 fucking years, then you're just a fucking idiot in the first place. But it's been going on for like so long with so many other bands. Pearl Jam dealt with the same shit, like so many bands. But you don't give a shit until it's fucking Taylor Swift. And then it's...
Well, you guys think of it this way. It's not necessarily because it was Taylor Swift. It's whoever was the big artist at the time. And you have so many more people instead of a small fraction of people be like, oh, these 20,000 people are bitching about it. And they're still going to buy their tickets. But then when you have 1 million people being like, yeah we're not going to go. Oh, okay, now we need to address it. Now it's a thing because it's going to affect our bottom line. I get what you're saying, but it's because Tay-Tay's that good. That,
you did not.
Oh, bro, I'm a Swiftie, dog. Like I love Tay-Tay. Like, how do you not? Like, she's so. If you go through her catalog of work, there's an album there for even you, Todd.
So here's what I feel. This is how I feel because this just seems like how my life would work. So hear me out. Here's 40-some-year-old Todd, out of shape. Yeah, I'd fucking work on a farm per se, but I'm not. I'm like, you know what? All right, I'm gonna do this. I hit play on a Taylor Swift song, and all of a sudden, there's a fucking like supernatural type portal that opens next to me. And here comes 17-year-old punk rock Todd and just kicks my fucking ass and then disappears again. That's what'll happen if I play a Taylor Swift song.
So here's my compromise for that. I will make you a playlist of 10 Taylor Swift songs that I think you might enjoy or might possibly kind of like. And then I will be with you when you listen to it. So if that portal opens, I will smack 17-year-old Todd in the fucking face with my kendo stick and kick his ass back through the portal.
What if Todd from the future comes back? He's like, don't do it. This is what happens in the future. And then it like me listening to that leads to like World War III. Then what?
Or what if you listening to it brings upon world peace or federal legalization of marijuana?
That's actually about to happen.
I know, I saw that. So I was kind of hoping you didn't realize that. So then, like, you'd listen to Taylor Swift, and then, like, the next day, it's like, weed's legal. And you're like, oh, my God, Joe was right.
No.
Oh, my God.
There are very few things in life I really pay attention to.
I know. And weed is one of them. I know. I
sat there and watched the fucking New York State Senate vote on my phone online for the legalization of marijuana in New York State. Like, that's the only fucking law I actually studied. I legitimately know like almost every piece of that law because I wanted to make sure like whatever I do was going to be in accordance. I never wanted to have, people like, no one's going to catch it. It's like, that's cool. But you know what? I'd rather fucking play it semi-safe. I'm not going to be like, oh, sweet, weed's legal. Let me grow fucking 80 plants in my backyard.
All right, my backyard's now a farm. Like,
now if I had a big enough space, because they were waiving the license fee for like small or for like farming for it. If I had a big enough fucking yard, you bet your ass I'd fucking apply for that shit and just put up a goddamn greenhouse. If I owned part of the field next to me, dude, like I'd fucking put up like 2 greenhouses and fucking just grow a bunch of fucking weed and like, sell it to like local dispensaries and shit. And
then I apparently would have a second job.
Absolutely. Hopefully enough so you wouldn't have to be your second job.
Well, sometimes I don't have a lot of choice about my second job. It's, hey, you're staying for the next shift. I have no choice. I'm legally bound.
No, that's what I mean. Like, it could make enough money so you wouldn't have to have the other job.
Yeah, I'm hoping this channel does that for us. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff for us.
If not, Joe's going to start an OnlyFans page and do this the hard way. Giggity.
Wait, I wasn't already supposed to start it? Hashtag at Joseph Stones on OnlyFans.
You should just start one. It should just be your face. Just a picture of your face. Nothing else. No, anything. Just like this. And all of a sudden you start getting like random things and like a Venmo. You'd be like, where did this $10 come from?
Why does somebody want to pay me $100,000 to show them my feet? Like, okay.
World's weird, man. In the 90s, this shit didn't exist.
Right. I was just trying to stack the odds in my favor. So, like, for example, and like I can say this because I know she never listens to anything I put on YouTube. I've been like the Oracle lately when we've been watching Braves games because we watch from the MLB app. And like with any kind of live or streaming thing, they always do like a 10-second delay in case anything happens. Well, one of the apps I have, as soon as like the Braves score, it tells me what it was, how many runs or whatever, or who they're playing. So like Matt Olson will come up to bat and I'll be like, babe, he's going to hit a home run right now. I was like, I just feel it. I feel it right now. He's going to hit a home run. She's like, you really think so? You really think so? Home run. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh my God, you called it, babe. You did it. Oh. And then, like, I even did it the other way. I'm like, oh, I got a bad feeling about this. Oh, he's going to hit an infield grounder and third base is going to get a run. And she's like, oh, don't say that. Why would you put that out there? Don't say that. Ball goes out there, infield grounder, third base. Stop. Don't say things like that. Look what you did. She's got no idea that I'm getting like a 30-second head start on what's going to happen because that's the actual real time of it. Dude, I've been doing this all season long.
What a dick.
So, guys, anybody watching, don't tell my fiance because I think I'm going to start like betting her. Be like, babe, I bet you $1. I bet you $1 Cuna's going to hit it.
Just make sure you don't do it like too constantly. It might fucking.
No. I only do it like once a game, or like maybe like once at the beginning of the game and once towards the end, because it
makes it less obvious.
Well, it makes me think of an old Full House episode, talk about the 90s, where Uncle Joey and I want to say Uncle Jesse are sitting on the couch, and Joey's watching a basketball game, and he's sitting with Jesse, and he goes, yo, I bet you number 24 is going to make a three-pointer right now. And he's like, there's no way you'll know that. Three-pointer. And he's like, yeah, it's $5. And then he does it like 4 times in a row. And then one of the girls comes out and was like, Uncle Joey, why are you watching that game again? You watched it last night after you recorded it. And then Jesse looks at Joey, and Joey hands him all the money back. Like, it made me think of that. I was like, so I'm not going to overdo it. I'm just going to, like, kind of keep it going. So by the end of the season, she's like, babe, what do you feel like we're going to do now? We need points. Do you feel anything coming now? And depending on what the Braves actually do, we'll know what.
I'll let you know as it comes to me.
As soon as it hits me, I'll know. All right. Any other albums or any other?
So this sucked for me as a kid, and I don't know if it was done intentionally or just accidentally. But like my birthday one year, I wanted the Ill Communication album. I guess Sabotage was fucking all over the place.
Oh yeah.
And like my parents got it for me, but they got it for me
from Walmart. Oh, I used to hate that. So
for all of you who don't know this, and I don't know if they still do because I don't buy CDs anymore. Who fucking does?
You don't buy CDs anymore?
I think so. Vinyl. And Walmart charges way too much for vinyl. Pisses me off. Regardless, if you didn't know, Walmart used to, and maybe still does, only sells or only sold at one point in time censored CDs. So that Beastie Boys CD was fucking completely censored. I know Nirvana's In Utero. The album had Rape Me on it. That song got changed, and even the title got changed to Waif Me, I believe it was. Or something along those lines. Yeah, so it sucked because you could tell that it was censored or edited, and I mean that was, I think, the only one they got. And they genuinely might not have known and just got it because they were at Walmart. Maybe it was cheaper than there was a music store in the mall called NRM. Maybe it was fucking, cheaper than that, but I'm not sure. But yeah, so it was, censored. So that sucked because it was an album I was really looking forward to. Also another album that kind of like, I love the Beastie Boys. Beastie Boys are the fucking shit, man. Like they I don't feel ever got the credit that was due to them for doing what they did. Starting as just a complete punk band, and then being, in my opinion, one of the best fucking rap groups that ever walked the face of the earth. I mean, they
kept evolving. They kept on changing. They kept on getting better.
Yeah.
And if you look at stuff like, I don't know, like the Paul Revere album, compared to even like Hello Nasty, you know what I mean? Like completely different.
Oh yeah.
Like, sounding, message, and everything to it. Like
they went with the times but didn't sell out.
Right. And it was almost like I said, like with Eminem, like I felt like I grew up with them, even though they were a little bit before me. Like they came to prominence. Like I remember I had surgery, and I had a herniated testicle when I was a child.
Ouch.
And that actually, and I'll tell this to the whole internet, that's why my left nut is twice the size of a normal nut. Because my body, because I was like 8, 9 years old, my body had started to compensate for not two hanging down, so started making the one to compensate for it, and then they surgically dropped the other one. So now my right one's normal size, and my left one it's like a mini bowling ball. Like, but regardless, I remember we didn't have MTV at home, and I remember actually I was probably 7 because I moved when I was 8, so 7. I remember it was like the middle of the night. I'm laying in a hospital bed, and so I turned the TV on, and I put on MTV. And it was the first time I heard that guitar riff to Sabotage. And I remember I'm like, it's Sabotage. And dude, I'm like laying there. I just had my shit cut open and I want to jump out of bed and start like the first Star Trek in the Star Trek reboot series when young Kirk steals the old car and he's just blasting Sabotage as loud as he can. Like, I'm like, I feel that. Like, I love that. I love that song. That song's always been able to amp me up. Even songs
and the video
like
was fantastic too.
Oh my god! Like
that was the thing with them. Like their videos reflected like what you said. It was just like the evolution. You do a whole fucking video that you're undercover police officer. Like this fucking
It gives like that 70s crime TV like feel to it.
Yeah, and you just fucking nailed it. And like anybody that grew up around that time, if you're just like Sabotage, they fucking know. They can fucking tell you the video, they can tell you fucking the song, and if you listen to fucking License to Ill compared to Hello Nasty, it's 2 different levels, but it was like License to Ill, like it was 80s rap and punk rock. Ill Communication was fucking 90s, Hello Nasty, like the end of the 90s when different types of sounds were being used.
And Sabotage was that first, to me anyways, first real combination of that punk hip hop thing. Because it's always been in my head, like $3 Bill Y'all is like if they did a whole album based on Sabotage. Dude, Counterfeit is like Counterfeit Pollution and Counterfeit Pollution and Stuck all sound like they're the younger brothers of Sabotage.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like all 4 songs are very, very different in their own ways, but you listen to all 4 of them like right in a row and be like, if these were people, they'd be related.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Now,
it was.
Before we go, what is your least favorite song or group musical thing? Like what was the big thing in the 90s musical wise that you hated the most? And what is your little secret love and that you might be embarrassed about, but regardless of what it is, you love it.
So I know I'll probably get a little kickback from you on this, but it was just my thing, and it was because the music I listened to and shit. I fucking hated all the boy bands, all that shit. Hated it, fucking despised it. Like wanted to punch them all in the face, like just terrible. And then listening to them now, I realized, man, their voices sucked. Like, I am sorry, but most of their fucking voices were not like this great fucking work of art by any means. Like, it was like, wow. And she was kind of terrible sounding, like how, but it was the appeal of the dudes, and I get whatever, but like some of that shit, man, like they did not have good voices at all. But I never remember anybody being like, man, they sounded great. It was just the catchy, whatever. Obviously, I know that existed. New Kids on the Block were like the first to fucking do that shit, but they were really, but they were really the only ones back then that was it, man. Like there was no other like boy bands when New Kids were around, really. Like,
that was the 80s. New Kids dropped late 80s, early 90s.
Oh no, that's what I mean. Like but then there was 8,000 of them.
So for me, my secret love would be the boy bands and all that pop shit. So like with the Backstreet Boys, because a lot of those bands were over in Europe for years before they broke over into the American music scene. So when I first moved to Turkey, there was a place called the Galleria. And I remember me and my sisters going down there, and my sisters bought this Backstreet Boys CD. It was like their first album over in Europe. And it was pretty much the same version that came out a couple of years later in the United States with a few new songs, some songs pulled out. But like that was like, dude, I remember me and my sisters doing dance routines and like just jamming out. And for many, many years when I became an adolescent and, you know, the teenager, all that shit, I was like, oh, fuck boy bands. I was like every guy, you know, fuck boy bands. I hate them. Da, da, da. But as I got older and more comfortable with who I am, and that I just don't care what other people think, I embraced it. Like I used to, in high school, I took one of my sister's old Instinct shirts. I cut the sleeves off, and that's what I would wear, ironically, in the gym to work out in. But not this past summer, but the summer before, me, my fiance, and two of my buddies, significant others, went to Darien Lake to see the Backstreet Boys. And I've been to a lot of concerts. I've been to a lot of sporting events in my life. And I have never felt the energy from a crowd that I felt when the Backstreet Boys hit the stage. Like literally, you know, I'm sitting there or whatever, and they hit the stage, and I'm not usually a follower with what everybody else is doing or whatever, and everybody started yelling and standing up, and next thing I know, I'm yelling, I'm standing up, I'm swinging my underwear around my head, throwing it on the stage. Like it was wild. Like you do not know what collective energy can do until you find middle-aged moms who used to be the Tiger Beat chicks back in the day. You don't know what kind of energy can be brought in by a crowd till that happens. And like we had seats, so we're like actually in the amphitheater.
Yeah.
And like I look back and it's just like a sea of people and it looks like a waves going on. And it's wild, man. Like, and like with that music, it's what it is. It's like shit you don't have to think about. It's just, It's light, easy, fun pop stuff. And you know what? I'm not embarrassed by this, but most people that know me now, whenever they're getting married at their weddings and stuff, they purposely request like a Backstreet Boys or Instinct song. So I go out and dance floor and just cut a rug. Like one of my buddy Matt, when he got married, his wife made sure they played Instinct's Bye Bye Bye. My buddy Mike from work got married this past October, and he made sure they played Backstreet Boys. And the next day, I got 3 different videos. 2 of the videos were passed to him, and then passed to me. So they were taken by people I don't even know who just saw me dancing and just said, so I have me dancing at his wedding from 3 or 4 different angles of just me just completely letting loose and cutting a rug. And I'm just like, I'm completely going off. People are around me. It was wild. Like, but I have that reputation now at weddings. Like, yo, if you're going to play a boy band, make sure Joe's there. Oh, so what's your like little secret love? And then I'll tell you what I hear.
So that's the funny part is because most of the stuff, like if I'm like, hey, I don't like this, like it's true. I'm not like, oh, I don't like this, but I like so-and-so. So I guess the one band / album that I enjoy that most people like really, but the whole album is actually really good, minus one song, was Crazy Town album. Butterfly is terrible, but the rest of that album was really fucking good. Like, if you actually listen to it, like it was actually like not that song, which is what I enjoyed. Like,
is awful.
What's that?
Shifty's awful. I saw they headlined the K-Rockathon that Stained and Papa Roach were at. I don't know if they headlined. Well, they were one of the headliners or whatever. And I think they came out before Papa Roach. And dude, they were god awful.
One of those terrible live.
And like the funny thing is, I tried listening to that whole album, and I thought the rest of that album, besides Butterfly, was like almost like trying too hard to be like everybody else that was out at the time. And I thought that Butterfly was actually the most original of all their songs. All their other songs sounded the same except for Butterfly. And I thought, I was like, oh,
being a punk rocker, you're used to that shit. So I'm used to every song sounding the same. I've listened to 20 No Effects albums. You know, and that's the thing with the punk rock world is you expect that shit, you know?
Right.
So like, you know, again, with the evolution of like Blink-182, you know, like Buddha and Cheshire Cat and Dude Ranch were fucking amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and then it was, you know, Enema of the State, which is like, and then Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and he was like, and then whatever the fuck else they did after that was just like, ugh, you know. But those first three were just fucking, but the, you know, again, very similar sounds, you know, very like whatever, you know. I mean, Dude Ranch, I'll still fucking listen. That whole fucking album is just amazing. You know, and even for me, like, Damn It is old, you know, like I'd rather listen. It's a good song, but I'd rather listen to a lot of other songs on that album.
I get that.
And they did, you know, it's funny because one of my favorite song on that album is called Josie. And I never realized they made a music video for that one, and it has I can't think of her fucking name in it now. She was in Who's the Boss? Girl. Yes, she was in that music video. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool, you know. And I get they were goofy, but you know, the whole fucking like video of them just riding down the street naked, it was like, like, you know, like it just kind of got to be like, are you just doing this to be like that goofy fucking band, you know, like, but yeah, you know, so, but other than that, like I said, there's, you know, if it's one of those things where if I'm like, I'm not a fan of it, like, I don't have like a secret love of something I'm not a fan of. I guess if that makes sense.
I got you.
Like I'm not a country person. Like when I used to go camping with my grandparents, they listened to like old country, like what I'll call real country, you know, Grand Ole Opry country, you know, like that type of country. I know it's changed, but country in the 90s was like, it was too like pop. Like it wasn't what when I, you know, again, just growing up with what I kind of did, like on the country side of it was like, that's not what I thought of when I heard country music, you know.
Wasn't Toby Keith, Alan Jackson, or Shania Twain, like.
So, you know, and then like it's changed a lot. It seems like it's gone more back to like its roots of what it was back in the day, and not like twangy country, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
it's found its balance between the old and the new. And like it's just like all music is constantly evolving.
But you had to find that balance. Without that balance, it's not, you know, I hate to use this fucking reference, but it's a good reference. It's like Jedi, you know, it's light and dark. You have to balance out each other in order for it to be good. Because as we see, you know, fucking Luke, Anakin, you know, you see the light and the dark, and if you're one way or the other, it's, you know, kind of the point of that movie was like, it's not good to be completely one way or the other, you know, you've got to be in the middle.
It's like that of anything. Too much of anything is not good. And so, all right, we'll end on the thing I hated the most about music in the 90s. And I'm going to say the one song that and the thing was, as a kid, I loved it. And then it got old very, very quickly. And it's that style of music and songs that it was very prominent then. And you hear it every now and then, but Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah.
And at first it was cool. Oh, it's got my name in it. And like even in like junior high school, because of my eye injury, like, oh, Freaky Eye Joe, like that's kind of where I got that nickname from. But that heavy electronic and not even like techno music, but like the manufactured like pop nonsense song. Like that song like has really no real meaning. It's nothing but just a looped beat with somebody repeating the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I hate it. I can't stand it.
I don't disagree with you. And for me, it was more of, you know, you heard it a lot on like the radio and TV, but every Friday and Saturday when I was a kid, there was a roller skating rink in Oneonta I would go to. And again, that's type of music you hear at a place like that.
I want to see you on roller skates.
I didn't. I just hung out. Like it was basically the hangout. Like I tried when I was a kid, man. My mom used to actually like roller skate all the time. Like it was not an easy fucking thing. Like
I'm
that shit.
picturing you like trying.
That school dances. I usually went to like every school dance, and yeah, that was one of the songs you would hear at every school dance, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then when you finally got the DJ to play Smells Like Teen Spirit, that was like the shining moment for you and your, 10 friends or whatever. But no, I don't disagree. That song, like it was what it was, but yeah, the fucking
makes
Macarena,
me want to just like take the pen, put it in my ear, and dig out my ear. I can't stand it. I hate it.
Macarena, Mambo number 5. I mean,
Macarena, I always dug. And the reason I dug Macarena is because you have a dance you can do to it. It's got a purpose. I still know the dance. I still do it at weddings. Like that. Mambo number 5 is just like whatever. It's just, to me, that's like the what is it, the electric slide or whatever the hustle, whatever they do at weddings. Like that's just like almost like the song was made for weddings. Where Cotton Eye Joe it has no dance. It's just like
who even wrote that
Joe, like what does that mean? Am I supposed to go like this for the whole song? Like what?
Who was responsible for that song? Does anybody even know the artist's name?
It's Red Nex, Nex.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are groups like that. It's like Onyx with Slam.
See, but that had verses to it. Like that had things to it. It wasn't just.
Did you know they put out an album recently?
Huh?
Did you know they put out an album recently?
I did actually. I didn't listen to it though.
Yeah, and it was just so the first one was Back the Fuck Up. This one is just Back the Fuck Up 2.
Ooh,
their title track
love the originality.
Wait until you hear the title track. Slam Again.
Do they add an extra do to it?
I didn't even listen to it. I couldn't even.
Do. Let the boys.
They could hold the pull Vanilla Ice thing where they're like, hey, you know what? No, this one sound is different. It's not the same song.
Tell you what, when Vanilla Ice in the early 2000s decided he was a new metal guy, the new metal version of Ice Ice Baby (parentheses now Too Cold) was fucking fire. Like I love that version of it. That was like around the time he was like on Surreal Life and all that shit.
Yeah, he's I don't know if he's signed to Psychopathic, but he hangs out like he is like good friends with like ICP and them.
Yeah.
Like has done songs with them and shit. Like it's weird. It's weird to think about, I guess, because I think more about Vanilla Ice. Like yeah.
Ninja.
And then the Insane Clown Posse. So I don't think about like who Rob Van Winkle is now. I just think of ICP hanging out with early 90s fucking Vanilla Ice. Like, yeah, like that's in my head where it's weird because it's like I don't picture them as just like 3 adults. I picture them as these 2 rappers that dress like fucking clowns or face paint like clowns, and this fucking dude that was like a one-hit wonder in the fucking early 90s with
2-hit wonder.
What was the other one?
Secret of the Ooze?
Oh, well, I mean like on a serious note, like album-wise, like other than Ice Ice Baby.
You're treading on thin Vanilla Ice right now, okay?
Ninja Rap wasn't a album by Vanilla Ice, you know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
like I look at it like that.
You're absolutely right. Ninja Rap was a movement.
Yes, exactly. That was on a different level because it was Ninja Turtles. So I don't classify it on the Vanilla Ice level as Ice Ice Baby because it was better than that. But probably not even written by him.
You're right. So, wow, we've been almost going for 2 hours, bro.
Yeah, so we should probably go. I forgot to put dinner in the crock pot, so.
And I have to My seeds are germinated, so I need to take the next step.
You know, it's funny. My dad just sent me a picture of fucking seeds that he germinated from Royal Queen seeds, which don't pay us. But if you ever want good quality hemp seeds, yes, feminized hemp seeds.
Oh no, they're marijuana seeds. In New York State, we're good. We're good.
But if we're not in other states, we're not good.
Do you see the coffee cups in our background?
What? That's just a Jamaican maple leaf. Don't fool people.
Well, what strains did he get?
I don't even remember. It was ones I bought for him. He's a big autoflower guy. Let's see here. OG Kush and some autoflowers. Actually, there might have been a couple, whatever. But anyway, I got to do that as soon as I can move my garden out of my fucking grow room. What do you got going? What strains?
We'll talk after.
Okay.
All right, I'll hit stop, and hopefully the outro plays. So thanks for listening to Todd and Joe Morning Show, guys.
We'll be back next week, motherfuckers.
Todd's not stupid. Bye, nerd.